Hi everyone, the craft analyst here. I'm going to be taking us on data analytics and data sciences. Before I continue, most of the newbies in data analysis and data science tends to face a particular problem, which is understanding the concepts of data analytics and data science. Most tend to delve into learning the tools, forgetting to understand the concept so as to relate it with the tools, which helps for better understanding. This tends to affect them in the future whereby going into the advanced stage of analytics. Here in this video, you'll be learning the concept divided into two, phase one and phase two. The phase one is the introductory part, the phase two is the statistical analysis part. I'm going to, afterwards, through my videos over time, I'm going to be taking us from Excel to Power BI, Tableau, SPSS, SQL, R, and Python. Introduction, category of data, that's what I'm going to be taking us on. This is in the phase one. Introduction, category of data analysis, type of data analysis, benefits, data analysis process, data analysis methodology, quality criteria for data analysis. Two, I will be teaching, which I've mentioned, data cleaning, method of handling missing values. The method of handling missing values, most newbies get it wrong because there are several ways of handling missing values, which I'll be teaching us in the course of this study. First off, data. It is the collection of facts, such as numbers, words, measurements, observations, or just description of things. Data can be seen in the smallest unit of factual information. Data analytics, in the other aspect, is the collection, organization, management, and transformation of data in order to draw conclusion, make prediction, and drive informed decision making. Data science goes more deeper, which is using math, statistics, and programming advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning to build models and make predictions or decisions. Coming to data engineering, they deal with the building of pipelines, platform in which the data scientists and data analysts make use of in terms of performing their tasks. So I'm going to be taking us on the difference between these three. First off, a data analyst only has to deal with structured data. However, both data scientists and engineer they tend to deal with both structured and unstructured. The data analyst is responsible for analyzing data that affects the current scope of the economy or company, the economy of the company possibly, or maybe a data engineer just develops the platform in which data analyst and data science works in. The data scientist is responsible for uncovering futuristic insights, that is carrying out predictive analysis for to guide on better decision making. A data analyst uses statistical modeling techniques that summarizes when we talk about these techniques, we are talking about the measure of central tendency, the measure of spread, the measure of distribution, and what have you. That's included in the descriptive analysis. On the other hand, a data engineer is responsible for development and maintenance of the pipeline. A data scientist is dynamic and unique, just like making use of machine learning to carry out prediction. Furthermore, knowledge of machine learning is not required when it comes to being a data analyst. But when it comes to being a data scientist or data engineer, the knowledge of machine learning is required. Likewise, a data analyst and a data scientist are both required to be proficient in data visualization. However, it's not required from a data engineer. This we go into the category of data. We have the structured and the unstructured data. When it comes to the structured data, these are in structured formats, in tabular formats. We talk about rows and columns, that is observations and features articulation. They are being labeled. For instance, the spreadsheet on your screen, you can see it here, order ID, product name, sales. We have the records below. This is a structured data. But when we talk about unstructured data, we are talking about social media posts, examples, social media posts, audio, geospatial data, sensor data, weather data. We're also talking about remember, your fitness watch data, your CCTV camera data, yeah, and a lot more. Furthermore, category of data analytics, we have the quantitative and qualitative. When we talk about the quantitative, we are talking about countable data, example of sales, number of products, etc. When we talk about qualitative, you're talking about that is text, reviews, and etc. Posts, comments. These are uncountable. These are non-countable data. Furthermore, we have four types of data analysis: the descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, prescriptive data analytics. When we talk about the descriptive data analytics, we're talking about what happened. It's the process of using current and historic data to identify trends and relationships, which they are divided into main base, the data aggregation and data mining. Data aggregation is just about the gathering of this data so as to present it or summarized format, while data mining involves exploring the data so as to give the patterns and trends. Then we go into diagnostics, data analytics. Diagnostic is all about why did it happen. We are talking about, okay, we have two places of sales. We have the American sales, the business in America and the business in Nigeria. How much was made at so points. It was made a lot of, maybe we're talking about laptops, Apple and HP laptops. During from January to November, we have that the when it comes to America, we have large sales in Apple, but reducted sales in HP. When we come from December, we have high sales in Apple down here in Nigeria, and then reduction in HP. While from January to October, we have in Nigeria high sales of HP. So, something of that sort. What are we saying now? We are saying that it seeks and delve deep into understanding why something happened. Okay, now why is this so? Maybe this is because of some certain policies that are being made by government parastatals here or there, or possibly an event that occurs that brings this out. So we are talking about the reason why the sales are increased at so time here and why it reduces here. The reason why it reduces here and why it increases there. So we go further to talk about predictive analysis, which is what is likely to happen in the future if this persists. You get so builds on descriptive and diagnostic analysis to predict what's likely to happen in the future. Data scientists can devise predicted models, which estimates the likelihood of the future events or outcome. These are done by data scientists mostly. And then prescriptive analytics, which talks about what is the best course of action. What do we do to curb this? What do we do to bring out the positive side? What do we do to reduce loss? What do we do to increase sales? That's where predictive analysis comes in. Shows you how you can best take advantage of the future outcome that has been predicted. Without doubt, predictive analysis is the most complex type of data analysis. It involves algorithm, machine learning, statistical method, and computational modeling procedures. Essential. The predictive model considers all the possible decision patterns or pathways of a company might take, likely for their outcomes. Now we talk about the benefits. The benefits, the informed decision making, reduced cost, and target customers better. Now let's give an example to explain this. Let's talk about the social media: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Thread. Now you try to advertise your product on these five websites. When you advertise your sites, you get massive sales, and yeah, you're happy, right? You're happy because of the massive sales. But if you involve a data analyst or possibly data scientist, they go deeper to discover the website or the app that brings the more value to your business. When they delve deep into this, carrying out the analysis, maybe they might find out that, okay, wow, YouTube is making much more sales and Facebook. Why the other three, there's no patronage from there. So it's just like it helps you make this informed decision making. Just like, okay, since it's Facebook and YouTube, okay, let's focus on Facebook and YouTube and push. Now it's reducing the cost. Thereby, the money spent on the previous app, the one that you're not actually driving sales, is kind of a waste. So instead of doing that, it helps you make decisions of reduction of cost, one, and make better decisions that drives more sales. Now, it's your sales will double if you're to take the wasted money into the other platforms, into the ones that works out. Then target your customers better. This is talking about targeting your customers better on those social media accounts. You're not looking for impression. You're looking for a, a post you make that drives action, that drives your customer to take action to purchase. You're not looking for impression for a lot of people to see, but you're looking for making high value of income. So we have data processes, data analysis processes, which we talked about. First of all, as a data analyst, when you're called upon, you have to define the question you want to answer. They don't just call you and you go into analyzing blindly. No, you have to communicate with your stakeholders, with the stakeholder of the company. What do you want to get from my analysis? And they give you, this will help you do a proper analysis on what the problem subject is. Not going to gather a lot of information that are irrelevant to the company, but gathering the information that are needed to be solved in the company rather. When we talk about collection of, before that, we have the primary and secondary source of data. The primary is the data within the company, and the secondary is the data outside the company. For instance, you're working in a company and you need information to get an information from, maybe so as to check some certain issues in the company. So you need an information from IMF or a governmental parastatal so as to help in your analysis. That information you're getting outside of your company from the government parastatals to analyze your data is a secondary source. The collection of data is the next step. You have to collect this data, possibly. And how do you gather this data using methods like questionnaire, surveys, polls, interviews, and structured data from internal sources, e.g., CRM systems, email marketing tools, or company database. There are also external sources such as government portals, Google Trends, reports from major organizations. The next is to clean the data. You can't just step into taking the data and analyzing the data without cleaning. You have to clean it. This involves removing of duplicates, fixing anomalies, and handling missing values. Without cleaning, the dataset may distort interpretations and lead to biased or inaccurate results. Now, analyze. Now, the next step is to analyze the data. Analyzing the data, the technique you use depends on the research questions and type of data. Common method used: regression, clustering, and time series analysis. This stage also aligns with the four types of analytics, which is the descriptive, diagnostics, predictive, and prescriptive. After which, you visualize the data and share your findings with your stakeholders. This is the final step. Here you present finding using charts, graphs, or dashboard and connect them back to the original question or business challenge. This stage involves storytelling. Storytelling, I will emphasize on storytelling as a data analyst. Storytelling, making recommendations to stakeholders and highlighting any limitations in the analysis. You can also suggest areas of further investigation. Now, the data analysis methodology. We have the regression analysis used to model the relationship between variables and predict outcome. It helps determine whether certain variables can accurately forecast another. For example, using historical data, regression can predict how many customers will purchase a service, which in turn helps estimate the workforce required. We have factor analysis, also dimension reduction, used to uncover the underlying factor that influence behavior and choices. It simplifies datasets by condensing many variables into smaller sets of super variables, making analysis easier. Example, we talk about three variable measuring customer satisfaction can be combined into a single overall satisfaction score. We have cohort analysis. Groups users who share a common characteristics within a specified time or frame. What are we talking about? Most of the time when we come to tech companies about taking classes. There are different modules of taking classes from May to June, June to July, maybe October to December. A group of certain people taking this particular course in and an IT institute from a particular time to a particular time. This is a cohort. This is in form of a cohort, describing a cohort analysis. We have cluster used to identify structures within a data set by grouping data into clusters that are similar internally but different from other groups. They are similar internally, but they are different from other groups. Unlike predefined categories, clusters emerge naturally from the data. Example, in marketing, cluster analysis can reveal distinct customer segments within a larger customer base. We have time series analysis, examines data points collected at regular intervals over time to identify trends, patterns, and cycles. It commonly uses or used for forecasting. Example, to predict future demands of a product. Analysts can study past demands patterns at different times of the year. Sentiment analysis, sentiment by the word sentiment, and this sentiment is divided into three. We have the fine-grained sentiment analysis, which classifies emotion on a scale: very positive, positive, neutral, negative, very negative. Emotional detection identify specific emotions such as happiness, anger, or frustration. Then aspect-based sentiment analysis links sentiments to specific features of a product or services. Customers may like the price but dislike the customer support. I believe you get the whole scenario. Like on social media, the comments, and you can judge out of these comments on social media posting and every other thing. Also, these. Now, quality criteria for data analysis. You ought to know this as a data analyst, which is validate input data with source system. Data analysis tools and systems rely on the quality of the data provided. Once you give it garbage, you get back garbage. To ensure accuracy, analysts must compare input data with the original source, checking for missing values, duplicates, or outdated records. These steps helps maintain unbiased and reliable analysis. Secondly, check data summary analytics and distribution. It's good it's a good practice to check summary and statistics. We're talking about minimum, maximum, mean, median, mode at multiple stages of analysis. This helps identify outliers and ensures values are in the correct data types. Another is applying the critical thinking. This means understanding your data and its concept text. If you are unsure about the variables or expected variables, collaborate with business stakeholders to clarify expectations and ensure accurate interpretation. Work with subject matter. We have to emphasize on this: working with subject matter. You're a data analyst. You might be given a job with real estate or maybe healthcare. You have to communicate with an expert in that field so as to understand what is needed, what is required, so that this will actually help in your analysis. When working with data from unfamiliar domain, consult subject matter experts. Asking questions about the data and their expectations help ensure accuracy and relevance in your analysis. So these are the list of tools I will be teaching after the phase one of the concept of data analysis and data sciences. And then phase two, after the phase two, which is statistical analysis, everything on statistical analysis, then we'll dive deep into the first two, which is Excel. From Excel, Tableau, from Tableau, Power BI. From Power BI, I added an extra, that's Google Form for survey. You have to understand how to carry out survey for researchers. Then we go into SPSS, after which SQL programming, Python programming, R programming. Now data cleaning. Performing data cleaning, if you're given a data, you need to clean this data properly so that it won't cause bring in impurity, thereby causing being your data, your presentation or your results being biased. First off, you using maybe Excel or any other tool, you check and correct your column data type. This is on Excel mostly. Or yes, on every other tool, you check your column data type. That is your header. Check if it is correct, if it is in the like for instance Python. Let me use Python for instance. You don't give space in Python. So you either join it with an underscore or you join them together using the snake style statement, or they are different. They are about three. Afterwards, we talk about removing unwanted rows and columns. After removing all this, we shall furthermore into the learning of tools. you shall see me perform them and you would learn accordingly. So check and correct spelling mistakes, standardize capitalization. You don't want to see capital letter here and there flying around. You have to standardize it, maybe every first letter, all capital letter. Ensure consistent use of terminology. Like let's say in country you see China, China, and then you come see China, Chiina. That's wrong. So you have to, consistent use of terminology. China, CHI, change that to every other to China, just as the spelling implies. Then we come to correction of leading and trailing spaces, handling duplication, handling missing values. Handling missing values is very vital. When you're performing the normal data, the descriptive data analysis, you don't tend to remove the row most times. The first thing you have to do is to communicate with the entry person to be sure, to ensure that there's no mistake, that something was not omitted while typing first off. After that, another thing you go further into in terms of handling missing value is if you're just doing analysis, you can replace the null spaces when it comes to numerics. Replace the null spaces with zero, and then the categorical spaces with the null categorical spaces with NA that's not available. So when you're performing your data analysis, for instance, you have cost, you have sales, you have revenue, you have what else? If you should remove a row because you did not see cost at a particular row, it will affect the other data. So you can't. You just have to replace with zero, and so that your analysis will be good. But in terms of going into statistical analysis like differential, yeah, you can remove the rows because what you need is a sample data so as to use in generalization the mean of the population. So that's when you get to, delete a row or replace the nulls with mean, yeah, the columns mean or the attributes mean. So sometimes, again, now rename column and generate new column where necessary. Method of handling values. I've already talked about it, but let me just go through this. Refer back to the data entry person to ensure it is not an omission error. For basic analysis, replace zero in numerical cells of column and undefined or NA in categorical variables. For statistical analysis or machine learning cases, you either remove or replace with mean in numerical columns. Some cases median are used. But as we delve into the use of the tools, we'll definitely see where all these aligns to. Thank you for taking out the time to learn. Please kindly subscribe, like, share, and turn on notification for new videos on learning because I'll be taking us on a roller coaster. The next will be the phase two, and after the phase two, I'll be diving deep into the tools